Come what may.
Come what may.
So, the Rings of Power finale. Yeah, Halbrand is Sauron. There it is. Big spoiler. I called it 3 episodes ago. It's a cool twist, but I saw through it. So my sort of conclusion with that one is that I wish they hidden it a little bit better. I wish it was less obvious that he is. I think this story would have served so much better if we had this WTF moment, like that no one suspected him being him. I'm glad the stranger is not Sauron. I'm just so glad that that was not the case, because that would have been weird. We still don't know who the 3 figures were. Obviously they had this Nazgul quality of a bad evil spirit, which I thought was really cool. And obviously Sauron and Gandalf, like all the wizards, are Maya, and then, you know, they're on the same level, and I suppose it was easy to confuse them. And yeah, it was an interesting twist. They weren't after to hurt him. Yeah, we got to see this shape-shifting quality as well. Like that's something I'm already thinking about, whether he's actually in his true form, you know, Halbrand, or whether he's, I don't know, in someone else's body. Like, what's his true visuals are like. Obviously we know him in his armor and, you know, like just smiting everyone, or like as an eye, but I wonder if that's actually Sauron, like if that's how he chooses to look like.
Okay, yeah, the stranger not being Sauron. You give the show the benefit of the doubt and think that they're gonna be a little bit more clever than just making him Gandalf, because at first glance, he does look like Gandalf. And I mean, we still haven't gotten confirmation that it is Gandalf. It could be any one of the wizards, except for, I don't think that it would be Radagast, because Radagast is tiny. And this dude's super tall. Yeah, it seems like it's hinting that it's Gandalf. And again, maybe it's another means to like subvert our expectations, and maybe it's not. It could be Saruman, or one of the 2 blue wizards. But I don't know if that would be one of them, because I don't think they have the rights to them. Or I don't know if they can reference them, but they can't use their names or something. They don't have the rights to their names. So I'm not totally sure if they could go that route. Most likely Gandalf, because, you know, again, from the beginning, we're seeing him being taken care of hobbits. He always said, I've always had a fondness for hobbits. I mean, it was kind of charming to see the way he changed and started talking to Nori at the end, and he sounds more like Gandalf. But it was just the fact that it was so obvious the whole time, and like, at least for me, I was like, it's so obvious, there's no way it's Gandalf. Like, I don't know if that's actually genius or really stupid. I don't know if that was even their intention. Like, if it is supposed to be Gandalf, did they really think that we weren't sure it was going to be him? Were we supposed to be thrown off and start guessing other things, and then we just come back to, oh, it actually is him, okay. And then, you know, you definitely know by the beginning of this episode that he's not going to be Sauron, because within 30 seconds, those 3 people, those 3 followers of Sauron are like, oh, you're our master. When you do it at the beginning of the episode, like, you know immediately, you're like, okay, so it's not him.
So Celebrimbor said something very interesting, which I think defines the whole series, which is, if there only was some way of doing more with less. And that's literally, they even said the words, which means the concept is not as far away from them. You know, doing more with less is a thing, and they should have followed that wise piece of information. Yeah, thanks Celebrimbor for waiting the whole series to share that with our creators. Less is more. Yeah, Elrond and Galadriel reunite. We had a little sweet moment. Halbrand was hurt when they arrived there. I didn't know, I completely forgot how he got hurt. That was very confusing to me. And then confusion continued because he was almost dying in bed, and then a scene later, he's sort of walking fine and talking to Celebrimbor, and of course we know he's Sauron, so he probably heals better, but I just wish there was like a scene in between, something that would have given me a little break from those two events. Like, I really felt the pain of editing in the last episode. It was so inconsistent and so just not structured. There were like slow pieces with more like, I don't know, steadier pieces all mixed up, and it was confusing. And I swear there was just more to the story, or like more shots that we haven't seen. So if that's the case, I actually would love to see the director's cut of The Rings of Power, because what we're watching is just not enough. It feels like I'm missing some scenes. I mean, I suppose if you try to squeeze, you know, a lot into 8 episodes, that's what you end up doing. You end up providing some major plot holes. Yeah, it's not as enjoyable anymore.
It's very annoying how the show just kept kind of like winking at the audience with its hinting to where it was going, because, you know, it's like, oh, the audience already knows where we're going with this. Like, they talk about bonding the mithril with other precious metals to create some sort of item, right? And so first off, they're like, oh, we could do, it has to be circular. And then we're like, oh, do they mean a ring? And then they're like, maybe a crown would work. And then, you know, a little bit later, Halbrand talks to Galadriel, and he's like, oh, so we're actually making 2. And she goes, 2 crowns? And then he goes, no, we're gonna need something smaller. And it's like, it's just so cheap. Like, why are you, like, and he actually paused when he said it. He said, we're gonna need something ... smaller. Like, why are you taking a pause for this as if you are self-aware? Like, why is Halbrand self-aware that there's an audience watching this who knows that these are gonna end up being rings? Like, it's kind of like they're making a joke out of it, which, I mean, I would have appreciated it more if this whole show was a joke version of it, if that's what you're gonna do with it.
So one good thing about the episode, and I think this is probably why, or the reason why I kind of am glad that exists. Yeah, I'm glad to see the story of Halbrand, aka Sauron, and sort of his the insight into his mind. Like, we get to see like an inner psyche of a villain, and it's always really cool. You know, we know a ton of great villains, like really bad characters, but yeah, like seeing him being sort of so convinced in his own truth that what he's doing is actually for quote unquote good cause. You know, he kind of wanted to rule the world with Galadriel, and there was some goodness in that, in this whole master plan, but he's so evil that he cannot distinguish the moral good and the moral evil things. And I thought it was very interesting to have this insight into his motives and his desires and whatnot. Like, yeah, that, I think that's the strongest thing that saved this episode for me. Anyway, yeah, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and make sure to check us out for our overall series review, which we'll be doing next week. Yeah. I mean, they're shooting the series, so there's more to come, but overall, the finale, meh. It had to happen. Every story has its ending. Whether it was a great ending, I will leave it up to you guys. I wouldn't sign it off as a good finale. It's definitely not a good finale. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Bye.